ClancyPasta presents Mr. O'Brien's Party Place, written by theoddcatlady. I just wanted to start saving money for college. I didn't sign on to deal with the rest of this bullshit. I applied for practically everything in my area, but the thing is, so did all the other kids that graduated from my class. In luck of the draw, I didn't get hired at McDonald's, KFC, or Panda Express. I got hired at fucking Mr. O'Brien's Party Place. It was like a circus and Chuck E. Cheese had a drunk one-night stand and whoever carried the kid did cocaine laced with glitter. This place was awful, and I was stuck being the janitor. At least I didn't have to wear one of the eyeball-searing bright spandex costumes the waiters and other performers wore, which I have a feeling chafed like a motherfucker. But I did have to be the one to mop the pee and blood out of the ball pit. Seriously, don't let your kids play in those. They might get HIV. But unlike most of my other friends, I didn't get paid minimum wage. I got paid pretty damn well. So, I shut up, smiled, and let myself be pointed to the nearest pile of vomit because Billy ate his pizza too fast. I say pizza in the loosest sense of the word, but you get my point. I figured out quickly I was the odd man out when I walked into the break room and not one person acknowledged my presence as I ate my packed lunch. I was okay with that. I mean, I was the janitor. I didn't know anyone else there. None of my friends were hired, and I hadn't met anyone here before. I wasn't part of the clique. Then one day, I got a damn migraine and Bunny came to my rescue. Bunny was just what I heard people call her. She wore these pink floppy bunny ears and had her face painted with a nose and whiskers. She wore this oversized magenta onesie and always sung the birthday song for the birthday girl or boy. That's really all I knew about her before the migraine. I get migraines pretty frequently, and this was a bad one. I knew it was coming on by the time I clocked in, but I didn't exactly have someone else to call in for me. I just hoped it wouldn't be a bad one. Yeah, it got to be a bad one after an hour of squawking children and flashing lights from the stage. I felt like I was about to faint when Bunny popped out in front of me. "Robin? You look pale. Do you need to sit down?" I opened my mouth to say, "Yes, I really do," but all that came out was this pathetic gurgle. Without another word, Bunny lifted me up, put me over her shoulder, and carried me off like I didn't weigh any more than a feather. She took me to the break room, laying me down carefully on the threadbare couch. "I'll bring you some water. Would you like some Advil too?" she asked. I nodded, and she gave me 2 thumbs up before skipping out of the room. She returned a few minutes later, handing me the pills. "What's wrong, lovely?" she asked, and this was the first time I noticed her British accent. "Migraine. Sound light hurts. Didn't want to call in." I swallowed the Advil and took slow sips of water. Bunny nodded before getting up and mercifully dimming the lights. "Just lay back there. I won't tell Mr. O'Brien. I'll go bring you a blanket too," she said. And before I could object, she was gone. I was quite embarrassed to be treated like this, but Bunny wouldn't hear any apologies. Every half hour until the end of my shift, she came in to check on me, got me more water. And feeling her gloved hand run through my hair was so genuinely soothing, I almost cried. Luckily, I could drive myself home at the end of my shift. Bunny put her finger to her lips and told me it was our little secret, and I rested for a little while of my shift. Bitch, I was useless for over half of it, but Mr. O'Brien never found out. Bunny was sweet, but Bunny and the other employees had a secret. Like I said earlier, I didn't know any of these other guys. Not that weird. I live in a small town, but it's not like you can know everyone. And I'm a bit of a hermit. I don't go out except for work. But over time, I began to realize that I never saw the other employees leave. Sure, they'd sometimes disappear for part of the day, but I never saw one leave the building, not even to chill out back for a smoke break. I didn't think too hard on it. It's really easier not to think when something weird happens. I bet some of you have witnessed something that was in fact quite bizarre, but just didn't think of it that way. You made an excuse. Of course, it's really hard to make an excuse when you walk in on your coworker literally pinning another one's back together. I should have already gone home, but there was a nasty shit explosion in the men's bathroom, and I was late. I just entered the back room to clock out when I saw Bunny and another performer called Pumpkin sitting on the couch. Pumpkin's shirt was off, and I nearly backed out, thinking I walked in on something a little private, when I realized there was something very wrong with Pumpkin's back. Between her shoulder blades, there was 2 deep red gashes, painfully swollen and oozing pus. She had tears in her eyes, and I realized Bunny was holding silver pins in her fingers. A few pins were already in Pumpkin's skin, forcefully keeping the skin together like a quilt my grandma would work on. I dropped my water bottle, startling both women, and Pumpkin yelping quietly as one of the pins slipped out. "Fuck. Bunny, it hurts so much," she gasped. Bunny set down the pins. "I can explain," she said. "I hope you can." I hurried over to Pumpkin's side to examine the wounds. Jesus Christ, she needs a doctor. "You might as well suggested I take Pumpkin out back and shoot her in the head with their expressions." I raised my hands in the air. "Or not? What do I know? Those wounds are infected though. She needs serious medical attention." "I need my wings back." Pumpkin sobbed quietly, holding her shirt up to cover her chest as she rocked back and forth. "I can't do this anymore, Bunny. It hurts so much. I can't dance like this," she said. Bunny rested her hand on Pumpkin's shoulder before looking at me. "You're a normal person, right, Robin?" she asked. I nodded dumbly, wondering what the hell she could mean by that. Bunny nodded before she unzipped the back of her onesie and turned to let me have a look. "Right, I told you how Pumpkin's back looked, right? Well, Bunny's was about 100 times worse. Same 2 wounds, leaking pus, and painfully swollen. Only Bunny had the added bonus of having actual maggots crawling about in sores surrounding the slits. I nearly threw up as one squirming grub fell into the ground. Bunny zipped herself back up before sitting down. "The best we can do is pin ourselves together. Mr. O'Brien won't let us leave," she said. "Why?" I asked, shaking my head, unable to burn that horrid image from my head. "What did he do to you?" "He took us." Bunny wrapped her arms around herself. "He took us from our home and took away our wings. We can't go back without them. If he suspects we've left, he'll destroy them." "Then he still has them?" Bunny nodded and picked up the pins, pushing them through Pumpkin's back to force the wounds together. "In his office, but we can't go in there." I had already made up my mind by the time I walked to the door. "I'll go then." Pumpkin's eyes filled with hope, but Bunny's were filled with fear. "If he catches you, he'll kill you," she said. "Hope he does," I joked. Although the joke was not taken well, judging by Bunny's horrified expression. "I'm kidding. I'll be quick, he'll never even know I was in there." I slipped out the back room and headed right for the office. Whether it was luck or fate, Mr. O'Brien was out, and he never locked his door. I may have spitefully knocked the horseshoe off his door on the way in. I always thought that thing was stupid and really didn't match the theme of the place, but I didn't care. I don't know if I'd let it sink in what Bunny and Pumpkin were, but I didn't care. I found the wings stacked in the closet. Each were sealed in clear plastic in every imaginable color and shape. I grabbed the whole stack, not sure which ones were Bunnies or Pumpkins, and walked on out. I almost was back to the break room when I heard Mr. O'Brien yell after me. "Robin, what the hell do you think you're doing?" I bolted into the room and locked the door behind me, throwing the plastic packaging at the girls. "He saw me. Find your wings," I yelped, as I held the door shut with my body. Pumpkin pulled out a pair of monarch butterfly wings and crowed with joy as she stood, more bloody pins falling onto the ground. I felt Mr. O'Brien slam into the door behind me. I knew we didn't have much time. Bunny pulled out an incredibly large pair of pink wings, and I saw her smile triumphantly before she held them to her back. The door came off the hinges, and I was thrown to the floor the same moment the room was filled with a white light. When the light died down, Bunny was no longer in bunny ears and a onesie, and her eyes were much colder. Both her and Pumpkin stood side by side as O'Brien came into the room, going white as a sheet as he realized he was too late. "What have you done, Robin? Do you realize?" Pumpkin crossed the floor and without so much as a single moment of hesitation, clawed out Mr. O'Brien's eyes. He screamed in agony before Pumpkin tackled him to the ground. From where I was pinned under the goddamn door, I could see squirts of blood coming from Mr. O'Brien's general direction. The door was lifted off of me, and Bunny picked me up, setting me on my feet. She wasn't short and cutesy anymore. She looked almost feral, and towered almost 2 feet above me in height. "We're even now, Robin," she said as she patted my head. "I knew you'd do whatever I wanted you after I helped you with your headache. You wouldn't like to owe a person. You'd hate owing a fae even more." She pressed her lips to my cheek, and I was back in my bedroom. Shit's gone sideways here since last week. People disappearing, only to reappear saying they've been gone for years. People who've been missing for literally decades have popped up thinking they've only been gone for a minute. People have bizarre Rube Goldberg machine-esque accidents that result in horrific maiming or death. Kids that are gone for just a second suddenly act completely out of character, laughing at nothing and never sleeping. Nature is reclaiming any place abandoned by humans. I see people dancing down the streets, people with glowing wings and beautiful faces. So I might have screwed my whole town, and now we're under attack by a bunch of fae who've been cooped up for fuck knows how long, by a bastard who made them perform at his shitty pizzeria joint. Hopefully, they'll get bored and leave soon. I need to find a new job. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. I want to give a huge thanks to all of my supporters over at Patreon and YouTube memberships. Your support makes these narrations possible, and I appreciate it a ton. If you'd like to join these lovely ghouls, you can head on over to my Patreon at patreon.com/ClancyPasta, or click the join button below to become a member. And if you'd like creepy cool shirts, make sure to head on over and check out my official merch store for some awesome tees, hoodies, stickers, and more. Alright. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great night. Cheers.